Now let's talk about long form content types. In other words, this is not about topics, but this is about the channels and the different ways that you could create long form content. And I want to stress again that a big thing that we're talking about here is that you should because long form content is an investment and social is an expense, you should build as much as possible your long form content. You want that to be the primary channel for each objective of content. So let's kind of dive quickly through the different types of long form content, the different channels. And again, I will be showing you where they really shine in terms of the different objectives for your content. So the first type is blogs, and these are versatile because you can address really any number of content topic types in a blog post. I mean, you can do quick hitter stuff like what is or how to. You can do deep dives, an ultimate guide. You could do authority content. You could do belief shift. You can do all kinds of things here. So a blog is really great for awareness and authority. Now, it can also do a bit of consideration in helping people understand the way you think about the problem, but I didn't include consideration here because of a big limitation, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But before we do, I want to say something about blogs. If you are going to take the time to build a blog, definitely focus on SEO for your post, search engine optimization. Now, we're not going to talk about it in any depth, but blogs are particularly powerful for discovery and awareness, but only if you are strategic about the topics you cover and how you write the posts. You have to reverse engineer what people are searching for, what Google is thinking in their algorithm, and then create content to match that. When you do it well, it can work like gangbusters, but you have to make sure that you're being intentional, that you're being strategic about this. So if you're going to create a blog, if that's going to be your long form channel, I'm going to tell you, you need to make sure that you take the time to learn SEO. And we're not going to cover that here in this training because it's not going to be relevant to everybody, but I wanted you to know that if a blog is your channel. Writing a blog and just like using it as a personal web log, what it originally came from, where it's just people are putting their thoughts, is probably not the best way to go. Because you're not going to get awareness objective, because you're not going to get people's attention, because you're not going to be addressing stuff that will actually lead your blog to be discovery. And then the other part, the limitation with blogs, is that they're not great for letting people really build a connection with you. So video and audio content will always be better at building a connection with you. And so that's why it can be useful. Now, I'm going to caveat this limitation. One way around this is, you could write a blog and then have a video that you shoot that's about the blog, not just reading the blog or something like that, but a video on your blog page. So if you did a vlog, a video log, but then also wrote the piece, search engine optimized, etc., that solves the problem. You're doing both. But I just want you to understand, a written blog, if it's just a written blog, it's not going to be as good. People have told me that when they meet me in person or when they come to a webinar, or when they do those things with me, oftentimes, they already know what I sound like. Or when they read my emails, they know what I sound like. They're reading them with my voice because they've heard my voice so much on a podcast or on videos that I've done. If you don't do any of that content, people don't have that level of connection with you. Now, this is not a limitation that's not that you can't overcome. I just wanted to point this out for you so that if your long form content is a blog, you need to think about, how do I build that connection and make sure that I'm building connection as well. So that's blogs. Now let's talk about podcasts. Podcasts are versatile as well because you can have quick tip episodes or full deep dive episodes. And because your voice will be in their ears, podcasts are great for connecting. Now, again, you'll see I put this, it will meet authority and consideration. And authority because you can talk about the topics, you can build deep levels of discussions about things. It will build authority. And consideration because they're getting to know you, so that's connection. And also they'll get to know the way you believe or the things you believe about what you're teaching. And so that will help with connection as well. So I'm going to give you two things to think about here if you want to go down the podcast route. Number one, if you're using, a podcast as your primary long form content, consider the format carefully. What I mean by that is if you want your podcast to build your authority and serve as authority content, you're going to need to do some solo episodes. If all you ever do is interview other people about what they do, you're really just curating content and you're not building your own authority. And so this is why you need to think about this carefully, that there's going to have to be something in the podcast format you choose that will build your authority if you want to do it. And this is why I'm saying a lot of people create podcasts and it's all interviews and they're doing it because they've been told that they have to create weekly content, but they're not thinking about, well, what is my podcast doing for me? If I'm just interviewing a bunch of people, is that really establishing any authority for me? What is it doing? All of a sudden your podcast can become way less useful if that's all you ever do. Now, you can build some authority by having people on sometimes and having meaningful conversations with them. But I just want you to be thinking about that very strategically if your goal is to use a podcast to check the authority content piece. Now, then the last piece I want to warn you on is that podcasts generally don't work well as awareness content. People don't stumble upon podcasts. Very few people are going into Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anything like that and typing keywords and stumbling upon podcasts. So because of that, they're not going to be great as a discovery mechanism. And when I say this, people are always like, well, what about my show notes? Well, show notes generally are not written and optimized for search engine optimization. There's often two problems with it. One, are you strategically picking podcast topics based upon what people are searching? So first, if you're going to do this, your podcast has to be created with thinking about the awareness type of content, the types of questions, and meeting that goal. And second of all, you're going to have to then write show notes that are actually optimized to get attention. Otherwise, you're not going to have a good time with it. And there's a third level of problem here, which is that it's hard to run paid ads to podcasts. Now, you can do it, but if you think about it, people don't go to people who listen to podcasts aren't going to a podcast page to do it. What they're doing is they're listening on their phone, on the app. And so because of that, it's just this weird process, right? If I was going to run ads to a podcast episode, it's going to take them to my page and then maybe they're going to listen there, but then they're going to have to get their phone and go to their podcast player and listen. It's just not a natural process. There's an extra step there. So it can be difficult. Now, you can get around this, but I just want you to know this real serious caveat here that podcasts are not great for awareness content. So that's my warning there. Now, then let's talk about YouTube channels. YouTube channels really are the most versatile form. You can do just about any kind of content, and it has the benefits of search engine optimization. It can build authority, and it can build consideration. It has, because it's video, they get to see you, they get to hear you, so it's kind of the best for connection. So it can really do everything. Now, I got to caveat that. To make a YouTube channel really work, you have to be intentional about creating the content as YouTube content. That means doing the SEO work of a blog to figure out what are people searching for so that your videos are on the right topic. You have to create videos to hook attention right away. You've got like 3 to 5 seconds to get people's attention as they're searching. And then you need to wrap up the videos with calls to action to watch others of your videos. And now there's systems built so you can actually put little things on the end so it shows particular videos, but you have to be thinking about it that way. If you simply do videos, and like I used to do, a video version of my podcast and put it up there, it's not going to be great for discovery. People aren't going to find your YouTube channel that way. So you have to be intentional if you want to get all of these benefits. And I'm just going to give you this warning, which is that doing YouTube right is a lot of work. So make sure you think it through before going this route, and make sure that you're learning from someone who is using YouTube to, as a marketing tool for their business rather than as a content creator. Because a lot of people who are teaching YouTube are teaching you how to just build a channel where ultimately all you're doing is kind of using it as a way for affiliate links on that page. That's a different business model. So you're probably not going to be, you're going to want to make sure that you're learning from someone who thinks about YouTube your way. So those are the three big forms of long form content. You got a blog, podcast, or YouTube. You're going to pick at least one of those. You could have multiple, but starting out, you're going to pick one. And then when we get to filling in your content, your content strategy canvas, you're going to kind of plop that in the place that you think you can match up the objectives with that long form content.